and my understanding was that it would be part of our urban agricultural plans. So I can support the motion because it'll go to various advisory committees, and hopefully that will play into our urban agricultural plan. We currently do allow goats, but on farmland, not in the urban area yet. And I know when we did the chicken ones, there was also concerns that the SPCA would have to be involved around issues that they get involved with. So I'm sure those are some of the things that would have to be looked at. But as you said, I think a first step is our advisory committees listening to some of the work and looking up on what Portland and Seattle have done. But we do have a very important urban agricultural plan coming forward. So thank you for presenting.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? So just quickly, so it sounds like there's a great interest, Julian, in our advisory committees hearing from you. Advisory committees sit under our council, and they advise council on the things we should consider look forward. So it looks like the Planning, Transportation, and Economic Development Advisory Committee is interested in visiting. The Environmental and Natural Areas Committee that Dean Murdoch chairs is interested in seeing from you. And I would hazard that the Healthy Sandwich Committee that Councillor Plant chairs would be interested in seeing you as well. That's quite a tour of committees. I'm wondering if there's any appetite for council to simply put a motion forward to have staff come back with a report to council, given the great interest that we have in this, and save Jillian the time of traveling from committee to committee to committee, only to come back to council. Councillor Plant?
If I can, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I believe that's what my motion asks. It asks for a report from staff based on input from the advisory committees. So I would be happy, I would hope that my colleagues would also be to meet with the appropriate staff member to draft a process by which what you've suggested could happen, as well as what's happening with the advisory committees.
I wasn't suggesting adding a fourth layer to it. I was just simply suggesting that it comes straight to council from a staff report, just for the simplicity of it, given the unusual number of advisory committees that this issue seems to touch.
I think the idea, Mr. Mayor, would be, in my understanding of the motion, the way I crafted it, was that the people who are on those advisory committees could help feed information upwards, and then for council's benefit. If council wishes, if you wish to amend it, I would certainly be open to that. I don't know if you can. I'm sorry.
It's typical for the chair to
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
To the council for its.
I'm fine with the way it is, but I will respect council's changes if there are such.
Councillor Haynes.
Mr. Mayor, I think it's a very good idea that you've raised. I think the idea would be to maybe reduce some timelines and make it more straightforward. I wonder if my colleagues could indicate when the next meeting would be that Gillian could come to.
Councillor Haynes, are you talking about advisory committees or committees?
Yes, sorry, advisory committees. I mean, Gillian's waited 2 years. We don't want to go past the summer because the last meeting is in June, because I believe then we break in July and August. So if we don't get this done in June, and if there's not the availability of the committees, then your suggestion is probably ripe for a friendly amendment. How are we looking at that?
You'd be welcome to come and join us at the Environment Committee on June 23rd if you're available. We meet at 5:15.
Yeah, so, and mine is on June the 11th at 4:30, and we'd have you up as first item.
Okay.
Ours would be June the 18th at 5:30 p.m.
So does that meet agreement? You can make with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can, Mr. Mayor, it looks like we can get this done in June.
It'll be like herding.
Yeah. And it's not only because we'd like to see the pictures of the cute goats again.
Well, that sounds great. So, Julian, you're going to get a lot of practice going to 3 committees, giving a presentation 3 times over. Government efficiency at work, no doubt. So, with a lot of raised eyebrows, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? I'm going to show opposed. Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. We'll hear from the next. Up next, we hear from Saanich citizens for responsible EDPA.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Anita Bull. I represent a group called Saanich Citizens for Responsible EDPA. Our group believes that we can help the District of Saanich create a better EDPA, one that will help encourage landowners to protect special ecological areas, one that will encourage landowners to plant Garry oak trees and native plants. The present model of the EDPA is not working. Worst of all, most landowners don't even know they have the EDPA on their property. We had a meeting on April the 28th. 200 people plus attended. At the start of the meeting, we asked how many people knew about the EDPA in 2012 when it was adopted. 8 of the more than 200 people raised their hands. We then asked how many just found out about the EDPA when we delivered our brochure to them a few weeks prior to the meeting. The rest of the audience raised their hands. Consultation was very poorly done. It appears that landowners were intentionally left out of the discussions on the significant impacts that were to happen to their properties. Saanich staff had an address list of properties that were to be placed in the EDPA before the bylaw was put into place, but decided not to use it to include homeowners. The EDPA bylaw has failed at educating people to do things on their property that would lead to improved ecological conditions in Saanich. The goal of the bylaw is to protect the areas of highest biodiversity in Saanich. The bylaw has failed at this goal because nobody knows where those areas are. There are maps from the federal and provincial government of sensitive ecosystems and rare species, but no one knows if these ecosystems and species still occur where they have been mapped. Inventory is needed. Unfair restrictions have been put on property owners even when no sensitive ecosystem remains on their properties. Many people who have bought properties recently were never told about the EDPA on their property because the real estate community was never informed about the EDPA. Implementation of the bylaw by staff has been grossly inadequate with moving goalposts, unclear directions, and unscientific thinking. Bylaw wording has been intentionally ignored or misinterpreted by staff. There are major issues in Saanich parks. These areas of highest biodiversity, such as Mount Doug, Mount Tommy, and Knockin Hill, are rapidly becoming overgrown with invasive trees, shrubs, and more recently, a dense cover of invasive grasses. Saanich parks are not provided with the funding required to maintain and restore the sensitive ecosystems in the park system. Volunteers do the main restoration work with support from Saanich. However, the EDPA bylaw sets a much higher standard for private landowners than it does for all of our shared park properties. We believe that this bylaw needs to be scientifically defensible and that it needs to follow the standards and methods for the inventories being used within the EDPA. We believe there has been missed opportunities to get landowners to do good things for the environment. We believe that to have a successful bylaw, that there needs to be forms of encouragement and incentives. We believe that if individual landowners are going to be required to protect natural features on their property, there must be some form of compensation in the form of tax relief or other methods. All of this should be voluntary, but encouraged by providing support to landowners through staff or by working with conservation groups such as the Habitat Acquisition Trust. Saanich should follow its recent Declaration of the Right to a Healthy Environment that states, to ensure equitable distribution of environmental benefits and burdens within the municipality, the burden needs to be shared. We believe that there needs to be a better balance between maintaining landowners' rights and protecting the natural environment with significant landowner involvement. Our group is writing a report to Saanich Council. It will be available in 2 to 3 weeks. It will provide recommendations on a variety of issues regarding the EDPA. We hope you will be open to its content and message. We have a petition of over 500 signatures right now, but from what we have seen, we have thousands of property owners and many stakeholder groups behind what we are doing. We are asking for the following. We ask that the EDPA bylaw be completely revised and that implementation of the bylaw have very carefully worded directions to staff, such as following standards for the inventories. There needs to be a complete review of the bylaw, and we recommend outside experts be involved in this revision. We also ask for a moratorium on any additional work by or under the direction of district staff to change or amend the EDPA bylaw, the EDPA guidelines, or public information related to the EDPA without first seeking council approval for the work to be conducted. The moratorium would include any activities, reports, or studies related to the definition and mapping of environmental sensitive areas. The purpose of the moratorium is to maintain a status quo position and not expend additional district resources until the issues being raised with the current EDPA bylaw are better understood. By implementing this moratorium, council is being prudent and will be able to ensure any changes improve the current status versus create new issues, and district resources and expenditures are not at risk of being wasted. We believe that we also ask for a town hall meeting, similar to the clay courts issue, where landowners and other stakeholder groups that are affected by the bylaw are invited to this and allowed to verbally express their opinions on this bylaw. We believe that this meeting needs to include the following. 1, all landowners are invited to the meeting by letter addressed to homeowners affected by the EDPA. 2, all landowners that have new environmental significant areas, ESA, mapped on their properties be invited by letter as well. 3, the meeting should cover all aspects of the bylaw, not just the proposed amendments to the bylaw which staff has put forward. 4, there should be an open microphone with both staff and council available to take questions and give answers. We're requesting that someone on council put forward a motion that would allow this to happen. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Bull. I see Councilor Murdoch's hand up.